Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 396 and to 397 for the 26th to 27th of March. And this SITREP is brought to you by the DPA Open Mic. So do check it out. The DPA Open Mic channel is at DPA Open Mic. So at DPA Open Mic. So do check it out. And yeah, and let's start off with the biggest news, which is actually Bakhmut. So at Bakhmut city, the battle of Bakhmut continues, and the WAGNER private military contractors continues to make progress within this city battle. And of significance is the push from the south towards the center of Bakhmut, because this area is the center, right? So there is a push towards the center, and then there is a push into the southwest to cut off this road. There's a push down from the north. So let's move into the details, and let's start off with the most significant one, which is actually Prigozhin geolocated at this position, and this geolocation is really near to the previous front line, which was actually here. So this actually creates a lot of confusion on the pro-Ukrainian side, and they realize that the front line might actually be much further, and they have to take into considerations by Deep State UA that the fighting is actually much more further due to the fact that Prigozhin actually comes to this place, which is too near to the front line, and they do not believe that he will risk that kind of life. And Ryba actually reports that the fighting is now going on at Vasilia Peshana Street. So which actually corroborates the fact that the front lines has actually moved forward from this location. And this mapping, as you can see, this Russian mapping, this is actually based on the Deep State UA's posting on their Telegram channel. However, this bulge, this entire additional area does not exist on their mapping, or at least based on the last check. That means the mapping on their own website, their own mapping, the dynamic interactive mapping, it's not there. It's only on their Telegram screenshot or posting map. And the fighting is also ongoing along the Mariupolska Street, according to Ryba, and there is a geolocation by Chris759, one of the world's best geolocator. He geolocated this explosion of this building here, exploded. So what happened is that the Ukrainian forces actually blew up this building, and then just as they are retreating from this building, and according to his information, the Russian forces then occupied this territory as the Russians continue to push forward. And this is the first time it seems like the Russian forces have really cross over or be just by the side of Mariupolska Street. And there is also fighting in the south of Bakhmut in general. There's fighting at the Budenovka district, according to Ryba. And there's also a push towards the Avdiivka Stadium, which is actually here. This is the Avdiivka Stadium, and the Russian forces, based on our previous update, has already pushed into this area, and they are about to move into this area. So far, they have not yet, probably logistic problem. And along the entire stretch, we are now moving towards the southwest along the Kostunskogo Street, which is actually this street here, this long road here. There's fighting along this entire road, and the main push is actually in the southwestern part, the wrong color again, which is this one. The Russian forces are actually pushing in this direction, and they managed to cross the road at Kostunskogo, and fighting is now being reported to be on Valencia Konstantinivka, which is actually Konstantinivka Street, and actually is this road here. This is the road that is being mentioned, and I don't think it's going to be like this area here. So it's actually fighting probably just arrived at this area here, which means the Russian forces have pushed forward, and fighting is also being reported near the MiG-17 monument, according to Ryba. So all this information is coming from the pro-Russian source, Ryba. I like to call them Ryba. I know the actual pronunciation is Ryba. So yeah, that's Russian and Ukrainian way of pronouncing it, but yeah, I'm pronouncing it as English. And yes, and on the northern part of Bakhmut, we have the Russian forces reportedly have completed the cleanup of the Azov, which is still not entirely being acknowledged by the pro-Ukrainian sources. Deep State UA has not acknowledged the capture of this entire plant here. Their mapping still looks like this, the blue map. So you can take a pinch of salt because there is the conflict of information. However, the pro-Russian sources and neutral sources, Surya maps, continue to report the Russian forces continue to be progressing from the Azov industrial plant. They have taken over the Vestmet plant and most of the Makievka plant until the trolley bus garage. And basically, they from this point that they previously have controlled, they have pushed out further south, and they have established a new front line at this area here. So the situation in the north continues to collapse. The south continues to collapse. This is not looking good. At this rate, we can see the Ukrainians are actually being pushed back in this way, and soon they will have to maybe push backwards because this area is getting more and more harder to keep. They have to push. This area is dangerous. They'll have to get out. So slowly they will be getting squeezed out of Bakhmut if the front lines continue not to be able to be whole. And there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces at this position, also by Chris 759. So this still shows that the Ukrainians are definitely very committed into defending Bakhmut. So there is still no indication that they will withdraw just yet. So Battle of Bakhmut continues. In the northwestern part, Kromove, fighting is being reported by Deep State UA and Miroshnikov on the 26th. And on the 27th, Miroshnikov continued to report that Kromove is one of the most heaviest fighting being seen in that area. So the Russian forces continue to be pushing this area. This position must hold because the important road of withdrawal actually resides here. So which is why this position have to hold. So if not, this road is already not usable. This cannot be used now, and because the fighting has already arrived at this area here. So the Ukrainians' only route out is this way. So this is the only way out. Yeah, this is why Kromove will hold, because I feel that the Ukrainians will continue to send forces from Chasivia to this line and try to fight back and push and hold this line to prevent it from collapsing. This will keep the lifeline open for the Ukrainian forces within Bakhmut. And at Ivaniske, we continue to see fighting reported over this area according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 26th and on the 27th. And according to Ryba and Miroshnikov, fighting is near the highway, and where the Ukrainians continue to try to hold back the Russian forces around this area here to prevent them from pushing into the road, where they can actually cut and control this road, and this will actually allow the Russians to build up an offensive maybe towards the rear of Ivaniske, so or towards Chasivia or northward, to cut off any resupply or reinforcement roads entirely. So this position will also hold very strong, I believe. And there's fighting reported towards Protectionine, according to War Gonzo, but I feel like this is just a copycat of the information given by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And in the south, we do have something new. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported fighting at Ozeryanivka, which is actually here. We haven't seen fighting in this area for a long time. So a push here might actually be maybe just like the one at Mayos. There was a fighting reported at Mayos previously. I think this is just diversionary, just to distract the Ukrainians. And moving on to the northwestern part of Bakhmut, we have fighting reported at Bodanivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and Deep State UA on the 26th, and on the 27th, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry continued to report fighting in the area of Bodanivka. So there's nothing around the Hryhorivka region. It's not mentioned. However, fighting is reported at Orikovo-Vasilivka, according to Ryba on the 26th, and on the 27th, Ryba continued to report So far, they mentioned that neither side have stable control over the settlement, and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry simply mentioned that there is fighting reported in this area here. Tentatively, Rybar's mapping continues to map it as a half controlled by the Russian forces, the other half by the Ukrainians. Although this half by the Russians is kind of like a gray zone, rather than a fully controlled situation by the Russian side. And that's all from the Bakhmut Front. And over at the Avdiivka Front, which is the next hottest front line, this side is not fought by the WAGNER private military contractor or the WAGNER. This side is fought by the Russian military itself. And there is fighting reported towards Kreminna, according to War Gonzo, probably a repeat of what Ukrainian Defense Ministry said the day before. There is fighting reported towards Novokalinove, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, on both days, 26th and 27th. There is fighting reported near Novobakhmutivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and Rybar. Rybar reported that the fighting is near the highway at Novobakhmutivka, which means that the fighting is around this area as the Russian forces try to secure control over the entire highway region. And further south, there is fighting reported at Stepove on the 27th. Both Rybar and Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported fighting at Stepova. So the Ukrainians, after the counter-attack, have managed to hold the line. So far, we haven't seen any indication that the Russians managed to break through like they did before. So moving on, there is still fighting being reported at Kupiansk, according to Deep State UA and Miroshnikov, which in essence, which means that they actually dispute the information of the capture of Kupiansk that was reported by the pro-Russian sources. So we'll continue to watch whether Kupiansk is indeed captured by the Russian forces or is it not. This dispute has been ongoing since September last year, so it's not something like it's not like a new thing. They continue to dispute who is actually in control of Kupiansk. And there is fighting reported at Avdiivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, on both days, but we do not know where the fighting is being described here. Not sure, is it here or is it here? And there was a counter-attack being reported by the Ukrainian forces against the Russians in the area of Opitne. So what happened is that there's a likelihood that the Ukrainians actually launch a counter-attack to push back the Russians in this area here, so that they can actually have more respite, so that they are not so pressured by the Russian forces in this area here. So, and however, the Russians continue to take the initiative for most other parts of the front line in the Avdiivka front, with fighting reported at Siversk on 26th and on the 27th reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, then by Miroshnikov. There is fighting reported towards Tonenke, according to War Gonzo, which is a repeat of the information by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, which is actually sometimes also makes what's the point of reporting what War Gonzo says, because it's always a copy of the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. This is a pattern you can actually witness. There is fighting reported at Pervomaisky on the 26th and on the 27th, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and then Deep State UA. The fighting is also reported by pro-Russian sources, just that I happen to map the Ukrainian information first, and then there's actually no special information for me to repeat the same thing again. There's also fighting reported at Nevelsky, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, on both days. So the situation remains unchanged. I think the Ukrainian forces did a good job holding back the Russian forces in this area. It seems like the Russians remain stuck in this area, as the front line did not really change much over the past week. Maybe around coming to a week already, the front line remains the same. Despite the pincer that was trying to be developed, it didn't seem to be developed as the Ukrainians are managing to hold back the jaws of this ugly looking bear. Moving on to the Marinka region. At the Marinka region, there is fighting reported at Krasnohorivka on the 26th, according to Rybar. And on the Marinka region, there is this information that was already mentioned in the previous SITREP. There's fighting reported in the north, the south, and in the center. Information is coming from Rybar. on the north and south. And then the Russian Defense Ministry actually mentioned on the 26th report. Actually, it's a press statement by the Yo group of forces that they say that they have intensive operation close to Marinka, and then they actually neutralized Ukrainian forces of just 10%. And then there is also fighting reported on the 27th, where the press statement reported elimination of 2 DRGs. And then there is also being mentioned by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry that there is fighting on the 27th. Boyeda Sea fighting on the 26th, according to Raiba. And then that's all from the Marinka region. There is nothing around the Voleda region except that there is shelling being reported near Volodymyrivka, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And that's all from the Bakhmut the Donetsk region. And looking at Zaporizhia line, there is only shelling report coming from the Russian Defense Ministry. Shebaki, Malatomashka, and Novopil all seen Shaolin monks walking around and praying, and after that someone does die. And the Ukrainian the Ukrainian Mi-8 transport helicopter has been shot down over Timirivka. Timirivka is just off Novopil, so maybe the helicopter is doing some medevac or something and it got shot down. So very unfortunate for the Ukrainian side. And moving on into the Marinka front. Let's do Siversk first. Siversk seems a bit more hotter. At the Siversk front, we have fighting reported at Vasily by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and towards Vimka on the 26th and on the 27th. On 26th is actually by War Gonzo repeating what the Ukrainian Defense Ministry said the day before. And then on the 27th, Ukrainian Defense Ministry actually dropped the name Berestove, which is probably more or less the same place because Berestove is just here. So the Russian forces is pushing towards Vimka, and probably this is just describing the same kind of offensive that is being done, or at least push ground operations by the Russian side. There is fighting reported at Kupiansk on the 27th, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and then Bilohorivka continued to see fighting on the 26th and on the 27th. All information coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. The Russian Defense Ministry only mentioned the shelling at Kryhorivka on the 27th, and so in terms of the Siversk region, Siversk is this city here. The Russians are actually pushing at Bilohorivka as they want to capture this Luhansk town here. There's a continued push in the northeast of Verkhoyansk. The front line, the rest of the front line remains stagnant except around Berestove, as the Russian forces probably trying to push through this forest line towards Vimka. And there is fighting reported at Vasily. Might also be related to the same push around this area here. So that's all from the Siversk front. At the Kreminna front, we have the usual, nothing special to be honest. Fighting reported within the Serbyansky forestry, which is also codenamed near Kreminna. And there's also fighting near Kuzmine. Fighting reported near Koske and Zarishny, according to Myro Shenikov. And the Russian Defense Ministry reported that they have shelled Yampolivka. Further up north, we have shelling at Nevsky, and there is fighting reported near Nevsky, according to War Gonzo and Makievka. Of course, information it seems to be copied from other people from the day before, I guess, but not sure. But this is something more unique. I think it's 26, and you can see the information from Raiba is on the 24th. So maybe this is something more special. So they have some exclusive in terms of the Russian push in this area here and the bombardment. And further south, the situation remains the same in this fashion. That's all from the Kreminna front. And moving on further up north at the Svetove region, we have fighting reported at Novoselivsky, with the Russians are pushing, according to Maroshenikov, the pro-Ukrainian source, on the 26th. Shelling is being reported on the 27th, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And at Stemakivka, the Russian forces also shelled this region, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And moving into the Kupiansk front, Kupiansk is actually this city here. This is Kupiansk, and there is fighting reported at Kreminna on the 27th, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. There is shelling reported at Khyslivka on the 27th, and there is fighting reported at Sinkivka on the 26th and the 27th. Russian Defense Ministry only mentioned shelling in this region here, but given the fact that this is what is being reported, there must be some kind of a Russian push towards Sinkivka in this area here, and then they were shelling as well, the Ukrainian forces. So the Ukrainian forces are trying to hold the line at this region here. It seems to be likely what's happening here. And at Kreminna region is a bit more interesting. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that there is DRG operations on the 27th, and then however, Marashnikov said that the Russians are the one attacking. So there is this fight, this attacking, here and there. Perhaps there's ongoing here and there between the Kreminna region. The Russian Defense Ministry also mentioned shelling near Voronezh, probably shelling the opposite bank of the Oskil River. So this river here, this is Oskil River, and the Russians probably are shelling the opposite end, which is just near Voronezh. And that's all from the Kupiansk front. And I believe I covered everything. I mentioned this helicopter as well. Yeah, I think this is everything. So do check out the DPA open mic. And we have moved the open mic to Saturday, and this is open to all viewers to come on to talk in person, and you can actually chat with me as well, which is very cool. And also do press the like button, subscribe if you are not subscribed, if you are new to this channel, or you are following the main channel but you're not subscribed to the DPA War channel. Subscribe. You have to subscribe to support, because the more subscriber there are, the more the YouTube shadow banning unit will promote our video to more people. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.